Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello and welcome to the only show on the internet in front of a camera on a black couch where no one's getting paid between £1,000 to £5,000 per day. This is the What the Football channel. What we're looking to do is kind of bring football, transfer talks, tactics and all that kind of stuff into one channel. We want the fans' voices to be heard as much as we can as well. So when we do discuss your team, if you got any whether it's contradicting what we said, please comment down below. We're trying to incorporate as much as we can to the next episode. We want it kind of be a hub where people can get their voices heard. This episode is going to focus on transfers. What we're going to look at today is the bottom 5 clubs of the Premier League and, who they bought in the summer, who they let go, the kind of important ones, and who they could be looking at getting potentially or where they need to strengthen up, managers, tactics, things like that. We're going to be having a little brief talk about that today. Introducing myself, my name is Ed. I'm unfortunately, or fortunately for that matter, I'm a Hull City fan.
My name's Kieran, and I'm the only one here who supports an actual decent football team. I'm a Manchester United fan.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm Ben, and I'm a Bolton Wanderers fan.
So as you can see, there's a great variation of clubs. We do have knowledge of different leagues as well. I also support a team back in Turkey, in Galatasaray. Ben, you really like Italian football, don't you?
I do like the Italian football, Napoli in particular.
Any particular reason why Napoli?
I just generally like the kind of underdog tone that they have.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. How about you, Chin? You like Spanish football?
Spanish football and Italian football. I'm a big Roma fan.
Oh.
From the days of Francesco Totti.
Roma. Which is quite awkward because his girlfriend's a Juventus fan, which does not go around very well.
Doesn't go down well.
No. So we're gonna start with the bottom 5 of the clubs today. Starting from the bottom, boys. What I'll do is I'll give you a brief introduction. It's starting with the bottom, which is Swansea. Now, obviously they got a new manager now, Carlos Carvajal, which is interesting because he was the Sheffield Wednesday manager in the Championship, who they deemed him not to be good enough for the Championship and sacked him.
I was going to be managing there soon anyway.
Well, this is I guess the way they're going. But it's interesting because there were talks of Gary Monk coming back. I mean, why would you go for Carlos Carvajal? What do you think their ideas behind that is?
Well, Gary Monk was an ex-player, wasn't he? He was full-on Swansea. Kind of like the club captain stepping up to take the role.
Yeah.
They kind of needed that experience, thinking that it would guide him out, like his Sam Allardyce, like the manager to keep him up.
This is the players they bought back in summer. Okay, so we've got Sam Clucas from Hull, which is a big loss for us, by the way. 14.67 million. They brought Wilfred Bonney back for 11 million. Roque Mesa from Las Palmas for 11.25 million. Renato Sanchez, Bayern Munich on loan, and Tabby Abraham from Chelsea on loan. Obviously, they've brought more players in, but I've just focus on the main ones there that I kind of included in the squad. Now, if you look at that, they spent a fair bit of money, not as much as maybe some of the other clubs. You're looking at like 40-50 mil there, including all the others that are not included. The ones that kind of left, the big ones, Sigurdsson went on though for 44.6 million, which is a huge amount of money. Fernando Llorente went to Spurs for just shy of 14 million, which is a lot of money. Jack Cork went to Burnley for 8 million. Bafétimbi Gomes, which has got the greatest name in football to say, went to Galatasaray for 2.25 million. Jefferson Montero, who was kind of decent for them at the beginning, kind of lost his way. He went back out on loan to Getafe as well. To be honest, they totally left 15 players. They lost 15 players, and if I'm not mistaken, they gained 8. So they've lost a lot of players. Listening to those players they brought in, they lost. Where do you think they went wrong? Why are they at the bottom?
Well, I don't think you really replaced the players that they brought in. The players that they got rid of when they brought the new ones in. So I mean, Wilfred Bonney did well in his first term there, but since leaving hasn't looked the player that he was when he was first at Swansea. And even Llorente wouldn't necessarily say he's a great player, but they made plenty of money for him. 14 million for someone of I'd say his caliber. I think.
I mean, yeah, he was like 30 odd, wasn't he, when he left? He's 30 odd now and he's gone Spurs. For 14 million for a 30 odd year old player is a decent amount of money.
I think apart from Gomez, you're looking at their outgoings. They made some pretty decent money considering. I mean, 45 million for Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Yeah.
I still don't understand that
Stupid,
purchase.
man. Absolutely stupid. Honestly, that guy will just rotate around every club in the Premier League eventually at some point.
Yeah, but and the players that they've invested in, I don't think are good enough for the money they've spent. I mean, no offence to you and Sam Clucas.
The big thing for me is that Jack Cork, 8.19 million to Burnley. Now, I've looked through on Twitter and things like that, and a lot of when Burnley kind of plays, and Jack Cork's played 20 games so far, Burnley, altogether in all competitions, and Swansea fans are saying how much they miss him. He was, he kind of, I think he kind of, when he was playing with Sigurdsson, he kind of did the stuff that the Sigurdsson couldn't do, that attacking side of things. He did a lot more of the defensive side of things, and that was a big thing for him. Now there is, you brought in players like Roque Mason and Renan Sanchez to kind of replace them too, I think, but it's not really, two new players to the club to replace two players who were really good. It's not really working. Where do you think they need to strengthen up to round it up? Where do you think they need to strengthen up?
I am fortunate for Swansea. It's everywhere.
So I'd start off with a keeper straight away.
Yeah.
You need that. You need the shot stopper right there. Personally, I can see Bonnie becoming good just because of his previous time with Swansea. He was insane.
Okay.
He was that tank up front that just did his job. But that's when he had Sigurdsson feeding him and stuff. I wouldn't focus much up front. I'd just focus on gaining that control from the back.
You need two solid wingers and a keeper.
Just like being as a keeper.
The defence is shaky, but I don't think it's shakier than the bottom 7. I think they've all got.
It's not quite close though. Like it's not like one of those where it's
defenses.
it's not like the top of the league where it's kind of already decided. I think the bottom of the league is quite hard, but I think there is still time for teams to claw back as well. I think there's time for teams to make a difference. Okay, so next up, West Brom. So obviously new manager, Alan Pardew took over from Tony Pulis. So players that came in, you have Oliver Burke from Red Bull Leipzig, 13 and a bit million. Jay Rodriguez from Southampton, 12 million. Kieran Gibbs from Arsenal, 6.75 million. I'm talking about the big ones here, by the way, again. Yuning Zhang from Vitesse, or I call the Chelsea B team, 6.5 million. Gareth Barry from Everton for free. And Kukoviak on loan. Now, players that left, these are only the big ones, so just pay attention. Yuning Zhang went back out on loan to Werder Bremen after paying 6.5 million for him. Craig Gardner, 1.58 million. And Darren Fletcher to Stoke for free. They had obviously a few more players that left, but they weren't really first team players or could have been first team players at any point. So you can kind of see already that they've brought in a lot more players.
They've actually improved the squad.
Yeah.
Which is what the problem was we said with Swansea, is there's not really been much improvement in the squad.
So what's happened then? You look at those players that's come in. I mean, Kukoviak on loan, that's as good as the whole Renato Sanchez to Swansea situation when he first came in.
Yeah.
And then you've got Jay Rodriguez, who I highly rated. I think he's an absolute quality player. I really, really do like him. And he's come in for obviously 12 and a bit million, I guess it's probably about right for a player who would come from a very big time injury. Oliver Burke, which is rated quite highly, a Scottish player, young lad, Kieran Gibbs, who's probably not the worst left back in the league. He's all right. I mean, I don't know who the Yuning Zhang is. Well, I know who he is. I haven't seen him play. I've looked through it, and I don't understand why they've paid. I mean, I would say 6.5 million is a lot of money for a 20-year-old who in Holland, which I would also say is an easier league than the English league, in 20 games scored 3 goals. I don't know what they kind of saw in him. Bear in mind, he's gone out on loan back to Werder Bremen straight away. Halfway through the season, he's still yet to make a debut. What a
it's a lot
debut
of money.
start.
It's a lot of money to pay for a player that you haven't got any intention of starting. It's not necessarily if you're one of the big teams. I mean, you see people like Chelsea and City. They'll do that. The main ones will do that. But for someone like West Brom, if you're spending £6.5 million on a player, I mean, if I was a West Brom fan, I'd want him to be starting. I'd expect, if you're spending £6.5 million on a player, you expect to see him on the pitch.
What do you think, Ben?
Yeah,
That's coming.
I'm in the same boat. Because that's a big outlet for West Brom, isn't it?
That's your entire transfer budget for Bolton, isn't it? $6.5 million.
Well, we're in Margo, so.
You can't even, like with Swansea, like I say, you've got the language barrier problem, but you've not even really got a problem with the language barrier. The only person who you've signed there who's not English or Scottish, Oliver Burke, is Yuning Zhang and Krychowiak.
But Yuning Zhang's going out anyway.
But
so
he's
it's
gone out anyway. So
yeah.
That's what I mean. You've only signed really English-speaking players, so it's not like they can't talk to each other, having trouble adapting to the league or anything like that. I mean, Jay Rodriguez, Kieran Gibbs, Gareth Barry, all proven players in the Premier League with multiple seasons under the belt.
Yeah.
Oliver Burke's, personally, I think it's a bit of a weird one.
Why?
I don't mean any offence to this.
Oh, here we go.
I understand that he's meant to be a really good player, but he is Scottish.
Okay.
I mean, who's the best Scottish player you've ever seen? They don't produce world-class footballers.
Yeah, that's true.
They genuinely don't. I mean, that's the one thing I always say about Marcus Rashford. Everyone goes on about how good Marcus Rashford is. But genuinely, when was the last time you saw an English world beater who actually turned out to be a world beater?
I think I see your point. I think they've paid a lot of money for a player who is, once again, he's young. He's only like, what, 20, 21? He's still a very young lad, so...
And it's interesting that it's come from Leipzig as well. I mean, I think Leipzig are doing it over in the Bundesliga is very interesting.
It's a bit dodgy, isn't it?
It is a bit dodgy.
They're using their other clubs as it's literally like a training system. Yeah, it's incredibly...
But you look at their team, you look at Leipzig's team, I don't think there's any players that are really exceptional that stand out to you. I think they're a good team, and obviously you had those standout players from last season, like Naby Keita's and
Timo Werner.
Forsberg and Timo Werner. But the other players are kind of just fringe players, and he wasn't getting into that team. So where you've got 14 million for him, again. You
got to think of it like, I always thought to myself...
I like the three signings of Jay Rodriguez, Kieran Gibbs and Gareth Barry. I think Gareth Barry and Krychowiak. I think Gareth Barry's a brilliant signing. For free.
Who's got a lot of experience in the Premier League.
Well, the most experience.
Of anyone else. Yeah, you can't get anyone else.
He's got more caps in the Premier League than any other player in history. And he's still performing to that same standard level. I'd have just give Tony Pulis more time.
You reckon? You think sacking him was too early?
At the end of the day, it's Tony Pulis. You bring Tony Pulis in to do a job, and that's to make sure you survive. And if you want to survive, you have to stick with him for a full season. And if you're going to bring in someone like Alan Pardew, who's a very hit and miss manager, and sometimes he's come in before and he's galvanised the team like he did at Newcastle, and he did absolutely brilliant. But then the season after, players just don't want to play for him. I don't blame him. I don't like him.
You don't like Alan Pardew?
No, not one bit. I don't like his attitude at all. Watching his post-match interviews, everything about Pardew just rubs me the wrong way. Don't know if it's just me, but
so let's have a look at this. Let's look at the out ones now. So we've talked about the ones that's come in. Not a lot of players have kind of left. A few ones. The only big ones that I'd say is kind of left. Yuning Zhang obviously went on loan, so we're not too focused on that at the moment. Craig Gardner, he didn't play. I mean, he played a few games. He wasn't a big player for them, but he's the only one that kind of accumulated any sort of revenue for the club when they went left, 1.58 million. So I guess from the owners of West Brom, you'd be looking and go, we spent quite a lot of money here, but not a lot's really happened.
Which is what will have played into Pulis getting the sack.
Do you reckon that's what it is? It's the fact that he's got no money
It was given a lot of money to invest with. He invested and it's not gone his way. He's not got the results that he really needed, and it's not necessarily his fault. I mean, I don't think they had the nicest fixture list in the world, if I can remember correctly, at the start of the season.
Last question before we move on. If you were the manager, if you're Alan Pardew, and obviously you've given a little bit of money, I'm going to assume they're probably not going to get a lot of money, to be fair. Once again, if you could improve 3 different positions, where do you think needs improving?
It's got to be up front.
Up front, you need a goal scorer?
Yeah, I do like Rondon.
Yeah.
But he needs that that partner, that the guy behind him.
Okay. Anyone else? Any other positions, or just that you think is the main thing for him?
I think that they're not going to get 3 players. They simply don't have the funds.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same. Your focal point. You need someone who's going to bang a goal in. You need someone who's going to grab that goal a game. That when you're struggling, who's going to pull one out of the bag for you. Like Palace have got it with Wilfried Zaha.
Yeah.
Just that one player that you can turn to. That if nothing else goes right, he's the one that's going to grab you a goal. And you look at West Brom's team at the moment, and you can do it any week. You look at West Brom's team; it doesn't matter who they're playing against, and you don't know where the goal's going to come from.
Yeah.
And they might get a goal, but there's no guaranteed goal from one player. And if they do get one, it's not. Do you know when you sit there and you go, "Oh, West Brom have gone 1-0 up," or United have gone 1-0 up, and you go, "Bet it's Lukaku who scored."
Yeah.
West Brom go 1-0 up. You go, "Who's West Brom's goal scorer?" And everything.
I know what you mean.
I don't know, Pardew might have put it in himself.
You
you don't know where it's going to come from. There's nothing to say. And Rondon's, this season he's not done anything.
Okay, right.
If you like the show, please leave a thumbs up. If there's any comments you have, if you found the club, or if there's anything that you kind of agree or disagree with us, comment down below. Next show we'll incorporate some of that in for you guys, get some of that in there as well. If there's anything that you think we've kind of missed out on as well, bang that in there as well. And stay tuned, there'll be another episode of this coming out next week as well. We will have an alternative show on this channel in regards to Football Manager between us three. See how that goes, where we'll be doing challenges and things like that, so keep a lookout for that as well. And that's it, thank you very much. See you later.